remembered. That's a win for today because I always forget. All right. So, guys, we're talking about building professional rapport through communication. And that's basically what we've been giving you for the whole masterclass is the skills that when combined, or even just using one of them that you've never used before is going to help you build rapport. So we're looking at how to build professional rapport through communication, which is an essential skill for success in most of our relationships. So great rapport conveys respect for others. And it also creates the feeling of respect in their mind for you. So many of the techniques and skills I've taught in this masterclass is a way to communicate past the mind barrier of the person's subconscious, right? And creating a greater connection to build trust. And it's not for selfish gain or selfish intentions. I know we all know that. We're going to have a discussion about that for a second, because we're about, talking about all these different techniques to make connections and get to the subconscious. But ethics and integrity matter. So it's about the authentic connection that you are all making, gaining influence to guide people the direction you need to go, whether it's because you run and own a business and you're trying to get your team going a certain direction, or you run a team on behalf of a company and you want to move them into the direction of the company, right? Or it could be about the deeper relationships that you want to have with family and friends. If we use these tactics with the sole intent to get our objective accomplished, or just to make a sale because we are focused on our own bottom line income, or trying to control the person in some way or another, we are not playing the long game. We're playing the inauthentic game, and sooner or later, people will detect it. And I think it just merits us having a little bit of a discussion about that, right? So I'm going to start off with the question, asking you to share some of your thoughts on using these techniques to increase your connection and impact on others. So as you have been trying to practice and put it in use, do you feel inauthentic in any way? Does it feel awkward for you? Who wants to start us off before I call a name? How has it felt for you to practice that? Does it feel like sometimes, it feels kind of fake for me or awkward? Who's going to start us off?
Okay, so me, I think you hit it on the nail. Anything new or something that's of interest, but then it's just beginning, it doesn't seem as authentic. You can be fact finding or logistical, but the emotional part is where it counts, so that the patient or the person knows that you care. So today, I had made a cold call to someone that I knew from a counseling center, and in regards for dental, it was different because we're not even in the same lane of health, but uh, it the patient base can be similar. And once I got past what I wanted to say, I mean, it just kind of opened a big conversation where they were open to listening. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Did you feel that was a different result than maybe in the past?
Well, first time, so no past.
Oh,
but it's outside of like my health
comfort. Yeah. Yeah. And don't
area.
forget, Robert, because you're a C, just be patient with the process, because it takes you longer as a C to adjust to change. Right. But if you don't move in that direction, then nothing changes. Right. So we always need to have some sort of a forward growth and momentum and changes. So just be patient with yourself. Great job. Anybody else? Does it feel awkward for you? Do you feel like you're being inauthentic in any way? Jocelyn?
It's a little awkward. It's getting better. Communication wise, I'm learning to choose my words, learning to kind of think more on my feet before I say anything and stop and reassess. And so it's been an interesting week already.
And
it's
how does
only
it feel?
Tuesday.
In what way does it feel awkward for you?
it trying to convey what I know up here in my mind
Mm.
to my heart, and have the courage to say something that is a little awkward.
Yeah, so are you saying like trying to find the right words? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's normal for people. Again, one of the transitions is having to change the way we say things typically, right?
Yep.
So learning new ways to say things, I mean, it's already rooted in your brain patterns, how you say something, and now you got to switch it over to another way. It's going to take practice. So 63 days to form a new habit.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, good job. Okay, I'm going to ask if everybody could please put their videos on so that we can collaborate together as a cohort, because this is discussion time and I want us all to be here for each other. Anybody else? Has it been awkward for you to practice? Thank you, Robert and Jocelyn, for sharing that. Now some of you went through this course with me last year. Maybe you could share on, you know, are there areas you're trying again to work on? It's a little bit easier. Is a new area that you're working on? Or you could just share how you feel about, yeah. Who's going to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
So for me, I think my I've had to slow down a whole lot. Part of it was I have a lot of information in my head, and I just assume everybody understands at my level, like the first time I tell them. So you know, I had to really slow it down. So I, even working with a holistic doctor, the first time I was just like, oh, you have to look at this product and this product, and this is how it works, and blah, blah, blah. And then this other product too, you have to use it in conjunction with that because it's a complementary thing. And then you put this in, you know, and he was like, okay, I'm just not interested in anything except for the one. And it's been 4 months now, and I realized it was too much information one time. They're not going to absorb it. I mean, he's brilliant guy, but he can't absorb that much.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's been 5 months, and I was like, hey, are you interested at this just to hear about it? And he said, absolutely, you know, because the other product is working so well. So it's learning to really siphon because otherwise it's just information overload and nobody gets anything. So I've had to learn to do that.
Good. Good. Okay. Anybody else? Or I'm going to move to the next question. Let me just move to the next question. Okay. So, you know, you're going to have to speak, since, except for Lisa, she's driving, but Renee and Carol, you're going to get the fresh question, right? Okay. So what would it take for you to be prepared within these communication skills, any of them that you choose? What would it take for you to be prepared so you can improve your effectiveness with people, so you can use it fluidly and increase your effectiveness with people? What's it going to take? For you personally, okay, we know application. All right. But for you personally, what does that look like?
I guess just being intentional. For me, like, preparation takes some intentionality, right? So to know, like, beforehand who I'm going to speak to, and kind of take time to think and prepare for that conversation. Right. And so, because when I show up in the moment, you know, sometimes and not prepared, I go back to my old ways of responding and doing. Sometimes the awareness of it has helped, at least, and kind of like, okay, this person is this personality type, right? But for me, I need repetition. So I have to go back and I have to kind of prepare. So I guess to take a step back from that, that's going to take time to, like, look at my calendar and say, ooh, I'm talking to this person today. What personality type are they? What's my goal and objective of this call? So it's going to be extra, not just slowing down, but making time to think through that conversation.
For sure. That's definitely going to be the issue in the front, but your ROI on that investment of time is going to be amazing. I don't know how to tell you that these techniques work. And I don't even remember to use all of them all at once, right? I might use one or two, like Nam said, like, I've talked about it before. We can only focus on one thing at a time. So I'll go in and out of different ones, techniques, but it'll really pay off and you'll really see a response from people if you do that. It's going to make
Mhm.
your time with people so much more efficient and productive. Carol,
I would echo Renee 100%. I think it's easy for me to fall back on what I know and who I am, personality wise, but to take some time before each meeting, especially before each meeting or presentation or whatever I'm doing, to stop, think about who my audience is, what my goals are, and how I need to come across in that presentation. Because I tend to fall back on just being me, which is not a bad thing, but it's also important to understand the other person, so, or the group that you're presenting to. So 100%, it's such an intentionality piece that I actually forget a lot because I'm just jumping, right, and hopping from one meeting to the next. Just take a minute, even if it's just a couple minutes, to just breathe in, figure out what I've got next, how I want to approach. I'll be prepared content wise, but I'm not always prepared in my approach because I fall back on my standard approach. So I think that's something that's going to take a lot of time for me to regroup that in my head as I'm speaking to different types of audiences.
yeah. And I want to encourage you guys, that's going to be the same for all of us. Just focus on one thing at a time. And if you make a little list of all the different things you really want to apply, you don't have to apply everything that we talked about, but maybe there's like the top 3, and then just focus on one thing at a time. And then you go to the next thing and you'll get better at it. I promise you. Anybody can learn these communication skills. Okay, we're going to move into our teaching time. Okay, so the key with these tools, right, is that we are trying to get past the barrier to the subconscious mind where there's little resistance. I mean, really, that's where the key is. 7%, remember I said 7% of communication is words. The majority of it's happening at the subconscious part of the brain. So because we fail to understand, what we fail to understand is the majority of our conversations and our interactions are really happening and influenced at that level. So imagine a particular relationship. I mean, I think we've all had that time where everything was going along fine, right? And you think everything's status quo. And we think all of a sudden, wham, oh my gosh, what just happened? How did this conversation get here? What is going on with this person? And it's because the subconscious mind and the beliefs they hold are actually making assumptions and reacting, even if you can't tell externally. It's happening in their brain, okay? And then you know how it is, right? How many times have you guys had an irritation with someone, you keep it to yourself? And then it happens again, you're still irritated with it. You never have that conversation. Then one day it just blows up and it's bad. So we're talking about it's because we keep rehearsing, we're making assumptions, and we're not having the discussion to clear it all up. So let's start with the definition of rapport, right? To have good rapport with an individual means it's a relationship characterized by agreement and mutual understanding that makes communication and execution possible and easy. Execution is going to happen many times, no matter what, but it's going to be laborious or grueling at times, right? So rapport helps it to make it go easier. Getting good at the results that build rapport will open doors for you. It's absolutely true. And create lasting relationships that can benefit both parties in the long run. And it's my personal observation, both in my own communication failures and observing other people's communication behavior, that the primary key that makes great communication and rapport building is getting our thoughts off of ourselves. We don't even know we're thinking about ourselves. We don't even realize sometimes when we're feeling the insecurity and wanting affirmation and trying to figure out how to navigate this conversation so we get approval of some kind, right? It's about focusing our thoughts on other people. And being focused on others, this is something I haven't said before, can be rooted in a few things, right? It could be rooted in insecurities or pride. But what it does is it pulls energy out of other people when we are operating like that. You're looking for validation from them because we're focused on ourselves. Some of this is happening unawares, okay? Some of it's intentional for people, but we're pulling energy out of them for that acceptance, or pulling on their energy for, making sure that, they like what we said. And it's all happening at the subconscious level. But here's the thing, guys, people are doing that to us as well, all the time. That's why I'm careful about the people that I hang out with. They have to add energy to me as much as I add energy to them. Have you guys ever wondered why you felt depleted or drained of energy when you left a certain interaction or certain people? Yeah, because people have been pulling your energy out of you because they're motivated by subconscious need to do so. And they don't mean to do it. Right? They're not doing it on purpose. They most likely have no idea they're even doing it. And sometimes neither do we. Self-esteem and care for others gives energy into others, right? And so they feel better about themselves just by leaving you. And that is a level of building rapport. That's an element of it. So using effective communication techniques is focusing our attention on them and being mindful if we are focused on ourselves. So it allows us to give energy to people and allows trust to form. And you guys have heard me say this before. I think it was this class. That's important because the 3 questions every person is asking you about you is, can you help me? Do you care about me? And can I trust you? Those are the 3 main questions people are asking when they interact with you. So when they can say yes to these questions, you've built rapport. It can lead to increased collaboration with teams, better customer service, better sales, higher employee morale, and overall improved relationships. So today, I'm combining the topics of having difficult conversations with building rapport, because challenging conversations are so much easier to do and to have when we maintain rapport with people on a consistent basis, right? So maybe you're wondering how you can make more money, make more impact around you, or how you can attract the right people. You seem to be bringing people that are really not, adding anything, right? Or maybe it's been frustrating to get collaboration from others the way you need it to be. It could be that rapport is unknowingly being broken or never really established. So, have you ever had a salesperson, an agent, or a coworker, for example, or anyone for that matter, who promises they're going to follow through on something once you bought their product or service, right? Or maybe a coworker who agreed on their application steps only to discover they were dropping the ball and not doing what they said, right? Big rapport killer, right? Follow through. Well, how do you have the conversation with that coworker when the lack of follow through needs to be addressed? Is it possible both parties' definitions of what follow through looks like is different? Maybe. You'll be surprised at what we assume we have the same definition on, and it's not the same definition, especially as we just went through the different generations, right? You would have to have that conversation to find out. So how do you make your needs known without offending them when you need to have that conversation? How do you inform them they are not fulfilling their verbal commitment, and try to keep the relationship at the same time without them getting offended? Or let's look at another scenario, maybe a vendor that you hired for something, it could be a virtual assistant even, right? Just doesn't stop talking every time you see them. And you can't get a word in edgewise. You might stick with them because it's easier than trying to find somebody else. And besides that, they already do a really good job. But oh man, every time you have to run in with them, you brace yourself, right? You brace yourself and you try to get through the conversation as fast as possible. They broke rapport, didn't they? They broke rapport because they just keep talking and talking and taking up air. So to be clear, let's be clear. Rapport is not commonality, what you have in common. You can connect on maybe a few points of similarity for sure. In fact, in my next mastermind on the principles of influence, we're going to talk about the principles of liking, but it can be overdone. Too many common connections, and it plants in their subconscious mind that you don't value their time and you don't value your own time. And that's what I did in the story that I shared several weeks ago when I met with the representative and we were talking about me getting a BB gun and shooting the parrots. He was shooting his chicken. You guys remember that? I don't know if you saw that video, if you didn't make it, but that was a strategic choice. Okay, granted, it couldn't have been more perfect. I mean, I try to look for strategic things to make that rapport connection, but here's the thing, but I don't go on and on about all the other kinds of fowl that we should consider shooting or what kind of BB gun I should go and buy and use target practice with, right? I didn't move into other subjects to see if there were similar points of commonality between us. No, no, no. It can convey that I don't respect his time. This is the same with running off topic, right? To build rapport, we want to make sure that we don't do this. Most people, okay, except for your best friend, Robert, okay, best friend, if they're a girl like Laura, she would want to know all the details. But most people don't care about all the extra details you think are important unless it affects them personally. Then they care. So for those of you, I'm looking, I think I have one. So for those of you who are my C personalities, have your details on standby should you be asked. Then, you know, they can absorb that one point. It's like what Nam said. They can absorb that one bit of information. And then if they want, they can get more information from you if they're asking questions. But have your details on standby. Most people can only focus on one thing at a time. So I have had to work hard on stating facts that only pertain to topics if it helps the situation. I got to tell you the story. I remember my board president, Glenn, telling me, okay, we're going to talk about this in the board meeting. Now just stick to the points. I'm thinking, I always stick to the points. Always stick to the points. And then I'm in the meeting and I'm going on. And I realized, oh, I think that's what he's talking about. Like, those are not necessary points to him. To me, they were necessary. So I've had to change it up a lot. I've grown since then, but I still make a lot of mistakes. Okay. I'm still working on it. All right. We're going to stop share screen right now. Okay. Lisa, you're still driving. Okay. I was going to have you talk. All right. What are some things that you guys notice people do that break rapport? Let's start off with that. What are some things you notice people do that break rapport with you? Just jump in there. Yep, Carol's like, mute, unmute button, go. Are you unmuting, Carol? Oh, I thought that I saw your finger go like that. Well, you are now. Unmute, my friend.
I was changing the layout of the screen.
Oops, too bad. You should have gone like a little more stealthy and then
Yeah.
all right. Anyway, so what are some ways people build rapport? Like call on your name when you weren't really unmuting, like that broke rapport.
Yeah. Break rapport. Oh boy, I don't know. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that one.
Okay, we'll give you a break. Somebody else have an
Okay, give me a
idea.
break.
We'll come back to you. All right. What breaks rapport for you when you're having an interaction with someone, especially if it's professional, but even if it's relational?
Change the subject.
Change the subject. Okay. So how does that happen?
Sometimes you start talking about a problem and they'll switch the subject to something they did yesterday, thinking that they're going to throw you off.
Okay, yeah, that could be a rapport breaker. Anybody else?
Not really listening.
How do you know they're not really listening?
I mean, they're like not even paying attention, fidgety,
Looking at their phone.
looking at the phone, looking at their watch. You can tell when someone's not really listening, right? They're not I mean, and maybe some people don't do eye contact, but you can feel that energy if they don't really care, or
Yeah.
maybe they interrupt a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interruption breaks rapport for me for sure. Anybody else? What's another one? What breaks rapport? If you don't answer now, you're going to answer the next one.
I think for me, it's when, same as you, Renee, when you're kind of trying to tell somebody something, and then because they already have their answer in their head, they're not even listening. They had no idea what you said. So they actually repeat exactly what you already told them and ask anyway. So I can't.
The D is showing like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very like, oh yeah, I totally, anytime you can use my office. Oh yeah, that's why I think it's a great idea, because they're gonna see what you do, and that's why it's a good idea. That's why I think it's a good idea to use your office. I'm like, told you could, dude. Yeah, I can't, it irks me.
All right. Okay. So repeating something that somebody you already said shows that you didn't listen, right? Interrupting, looking around, giving that energy, changing subjects, right? Okay, we're going to move to the next question, which means the three of you are going to have to be able to answer that one. How do you know if you have broken rapport with someone, or do you know? How would you how do you, let's talk about that for a second. Do you even know you might have broken rapport? How would you know what's going on? Where are the nonverbals that you might pick up that you broke rapport? See, you should have answered the first one. Anybody can answer, but yep, Carol, great
I think
job.
when you see people get a little bit fidgety, like you could tell when they're talking, they're kind of like, you could see it in their face, like, all right, time to move on, or time to stop, or you just can see you can sense impatience in people's face. And so that's what it's like, either I went on too long, or I, went off tangent or whatever. You could just kind of sense that, I think, in people's eyes, in the way they look away, or they're just kind of, you can tell you've lost somebody in rapport is broken.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And I want to, something just came to me as you were sharing that, because I think the important thing is for us to take responsibility to pick up on the cue and make the shifts necessary, to keep rapport. But that doesn't mean you did something wrong. It may mean that that person isn't able to have a regular conversation as well. But because we want to maintain rapport, we make the adjustment because we're in it for the long game. Right. I mean, maybe you decided in your head, yeah, I don't think this is somebody I'm going to have any kind of networking relationship with or anything. Right. But for the most part, we're looking at the long game. So we want to end with good rapport, even if it's really maybe them that. So I just want to make sure we understand it's not all on us, but it's the way we get to respond. Right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it is all on us in terms of our responsibility to respond appropriately to the situation. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? Okay. Robert or Lisa, how would you know, what do you do, or how have you broken rapport before? Any one of those? Sorry, guys, my nose is itchy. Robert doesn't want to answer. You're going to get the next one, right?
I'll go. I think for me, the rapport would be broken if, I guess, yeah, similar to what others have said, like if, like they ask you how you're doing, and then so you start telling them, and then they're like doing other stuff, or they're half listening to you, they're like not facing you, or then I'm like, why did you ask? I mean, in my head, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Robert, you're going to answer the next question. You ready? The question is, how do you think people are experiencing you? Just in general, how do you think they experience you? Now, Robert's on this hot seat right now and he has to answer that question, but I want you guys to really answer that question for yourselves because it's about developing awareness. How do you think people are experiencing you? Robert, how do you think people are experiencing you?
I think just for what I do, my profession, we try to do a wellness awareness of wellness. And sometimes people just want to come in for the service and forget about the other stuff. You know. So, so some people, it's kind of 50-50, I think. Some appreciate the extra effort that we do to give them an experience that, hey, there's more things than just teeth, or because your mouth is a vital part, certain things maybe you should consider rather
So
than just,
some people experience you with appreciation, and what's the other 50%?
oh, he's just looking for the money.
Yeah. Well, the next mastermind we're doing is going to help with that a lot because it's about delivery on influence. So, but that would be, I think for most of us that have to be in a sales position, you're going to get that kind of response. So we can
Oh, yeah.
minimize the percentage. Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on to the next part. Okay. Just one second. So building rapport with people before difficult conversations have to be had is the preemptive work of ensuring your success. And it requires us to be aware of any prejudices or biases or belief systems that we hold that color our attitude going into the difficult conversation. And putting aside preconceived notions helps to create an atmosphere where difficult conversations are more likely to be productive, right? Remember to be intentional of declaring that they have good intent. Don't check yourself if you are assuming their intent is bad. Check to see and make sure that you're walking in, believing in your heart they have good intent. There's just a break somewhere here. And a productive, value-adding conversation will be the result. Other things to do when having a difficult conversation is asking lots of clarifying questions. Don't make assumptions, ask clarifying questions. In fact, if you get really great at asking questions, it's going to be such a game changer. Things like, could you rephrase that statement? I have to ask that periodically. Like I think about the question, or could you rephrase the statement? Could you rephrase the question? I should have said, actually, that's when I usually use that. Because I'm confused at how to answer it because I'm trying to think of the multiple contexts you could be saying that in. So could you please rephrase the question so that I'm very clear? Could you give me the context of that statement, right? Could you help me understand how to process this information? Could you help me understand how you're processing the information I just gave you? I have to do that all the time with my staff. Help me understand how you're processing what I just said. What's the takeaway here? Okay, those are clarifying questions. I'm not going to make assumptions when I walk away. That's how we have problems, and problems lead to difficult conversations. So if we keep the rapport, we're going to be better. If we're moving into a difficult conversation, make sure you're clear about what the person's really trying to say. Sometimes a conversation is difficult because we feel intimidated by the person or the situation itself. So here are some ways to minimize that intimidation. You want to be prepared before the meeting. And Renee, you talked about that. It's going to save you more on the other end than it does in the front end, right? Be prepared for the meeting. You should be able to say what it is you need in 10 minutes. Consider their personality profile, consider their generation, consider all of those things, and then make sure you're addressing it in that 10 minutes in a way that they will receive it. Maybe 20 if data or records are required, but just give the bullet points and then they can ask questions, or you hand the data to them and they can look at it later. Do your thinking beforehand and come prepared. Know what your objective commitment is for this interaction. And think about creating a win-win in the situation, if it's applicable. See, when you're prepared and you know your desired outcomes, That is a show of respect for someone. And here's our last key. When going into a difficult conversation or any interaction, really, look to solve a problem or be intentional about resourcing that person. Be a giver with your resources, with your solutions, with the intention to add value. It's going to open doors for you, but understand that this is not to be confused with giving your personal opinion and advice. That's different, right? That is a different thing. Sometimes people don't want advice. You know, they've set it in their heads what it is and how they view it. They don't want advice. Could they use advice? Yes, but they don't want it. If they don't want it and you're giving it to them, it's breaking rapport, right? People want to know at the end of the day if you can deliver and what you deliver. What problem can you solve for them? I just had a meeting last week with a gentleman who's a property developer because I'm looking to buy a building for the nonprofit long-term goal. And we're having about an hour's meeting, and it was all about how he wants to look to serve the nonprofit. Well, that's something I'm accustomed to because people want to do good work to help the community, and they know we're getting good results. But we're going to do a follow-up meeting. And in my follow-up meeting, my commitment objective is to also walk away knowing what is it I can do for you, right? What problem can I solve? Who can I connect you with? Who can I resource you with? So even when I'm at dinner with a bunch of friends, I just went to dinner a couple of weeks ago with some high school classmates of mine. I haven't seen them for a long time. And I'm finding out, oh, one lives in Kailua, they need a dentist. I'm like giving them the dentist. I'm like trying to resource people so that you're known as somebody who can help solve their problem. You want to provide a deliverable that'll make the difficult conversation much easier because they know that you're looking out for their best interest, right? And solving problems builds trust. And trust is the currency of all leadership. When people feel that they can trust you, it positions you so you'll receive what they say, and it makes them more receptive to your insights. All right, we're going to stop share. Okay. So based on what you've learned in the last 7 weeks prior to tonight, what do you think is the stronger of the skills that we covered for you? What's the stronger area that you feel more comfortable in if you look at all the things we talked about, talking to the different generations, the EQ, the DISC, belief systems, drama? What do you think your strongest skill is of all of those? What have you been practicing the most? Lisa? Did you not know you unmuted?
No, I didn't know I didn't mute myself.
Well, great. So what do you think your strongest skill is? I've got all these. What? Okay, we're in this group to grow, guys. You should be jumping
True.
in and sharing.
I think it's more just, and I wrote this in that survey thing, but I think it's more just the awareness because, you know, I feel like I don't maybe have enough opportunity to like have somebody to practice with, aside from my husband maybe, but yeah. So I mean, in the workplace, it's more like I'm just trying to do it incognito and like trying to, you know, first of all, I guess, the different personality types that I work with. And just that awareness of that has helped. I don't know if it's helped our communication, but at least for me, I feel it's not so much on what I'm communicating to them, but it's more like, how do they communicate as well? So just an awareness of others, you know, in my day-to-day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Awareness is the beginning foundation of all transformation. All right. So follow-up question to you then is, which one do you think you want to practice? Like actually interface with people and practice it?
I guess, I don't know. I think just, yeah, trying to determine like which out of the DISC personality type figuring that out, as well as some of the nonverbal cues, I guess.
Yeah.
Like being more observant of how they're communicating nonverbally to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, don't forget, you have the cheat sheets. All of you have that cheat sheet about how to communicate to a particular personality type. So, use that and start using that to practice. All right. Who's next? What's the strongest skill that you think you've walked away with out of the 7, meaning that you're a little more comfortable with it than the others? Jocelyn.
The emotional quotient. I think I've grown a little, even by 1% of what I believe my emotional quotient is and what the other person is. So it's a two-way street.
Good. Good. So which one do you want to practice more of the
I
7?
think of the 7 things, learning how to discern the other person's emotional quotient before mine, learning to serve them rather than serving myself. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Who's next?
For me, it's the generational part. So I had an associate, and she was there for maybe we did a 90-day part. So what I learned from the generation part is they want mentorship. I didn't give any. I just let her work and figured out she knows what to do. She graduated already, but that was the part of their search as an incoming dentist. They actually want to learn more hands-on, that would help them as they get older. So, as much as even the younger generations, that, we got to accept to what they have. But what about when they're 20 years, they become management people? Are they going to change a little bit more or keep the identity that they had and just have it more matured? So that's for me, that helped.
Yeah, culture as a whole is going to change. The work culture is going to change. There's already material coming out about changes that have to be made in the workplace, bosses, owners, companies, corporations. And so it is going to change. The younger generation is shifting it. Now, of course, we hope that maturity would come in, and then it'll still be different, but more mature, right? Different than what a boomer is used to, right? But it is going to change for sure, Robert. But good on you. So which one do you want to practice more?
Oh, definitely. Well, what the generation, just handling the
Yeah.
different people that come in the workplace, kind of knowing how to approach it so that I can be intentional, and they can see that we're caring because we're
Yeah.
trying to get them into owning and being a part of the practice.
Good. All right, Renee, I saw you unmute.
So those 7 things, I don't know exactly. I was looking through my notes what the 7 things are. I just know that I remember the last 3.
Well, the 7 weeks, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
every
the
week.
7 weeks.
Actually, it's 6 because we talked about the communication twice, 2 weeks. I mean, sorry, generations for the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's sticking out for me, I know I've applied it, is when we talked about body language, the nonverbal communication. So mirroring that has been something that I've now with this new level of awareness.
Have you been
practice
practicing the
more.
mirroring?
I have.
And have you noticed responses? It's a little wonky in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I've observed clear difference. I just feel better connection. And then the other thing a second thing that stands out for me, which was gold through this whole, a couple more things, is establishing good intent. That has really stuck with me. And that has been really good. Just to, and go in there just believing at that high level, that high frequency, that there is good intent. And so that has done a shift.
Oh, good. Good.
Because
Good.
energy expands
That's right. And expresses itself. Good
and
job.
expresses itself.
You've remembered it better than me. You've had to remind me of the word. Expand. All right, who's next? Nam or Carol? The question is, what do you think your strongest skill is of all that we've covered, the 6 things, and which one do you want to practice more? Nam, are you talking to us? Because you're muted. I don't know if you're talking to your kids.
No, I was talking to somebody,
Okay.
but that's okay since you caught me.
Yeah, I caught you.
I was trying to pay attention, but I think my strength is the EQ side. I've always been kind of strong in that area, and it's funny because when I do when I'm the one that crosses the line, I already know, and I'm like, so I think again, preparation for meetings and that kind of stuff is going to be important. And the area that I do want to really get better at is the multi-generational, because I keep treating everybody the same way. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, come on, what is your problem? Everybody knows what good work ethics are. Why can't you just do it? Why are you always like whining about this or that? Just do it, right? So that drives me crazy, but I'm realizing like, hey, people are sensitive and people get really hurt, and then now you have to build them back up, and then to get them back to where they should be, and then
you broke rapport when you
I
do
did
that.
totally all the time. But at least I'm aware of it now, right? So when
Oh, she just froze. Come back to us, Nam. Come back to us. She froze. All right, Carol, your turn.
break rapport, I'm kind of aware.
Oh, she's back. Okay, you're back. You can unmute. Oh, you're not back. You're back to the back thingy. Okay. Carol, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, this is hard for me.
Go
I
freeze.
think
No, Robert, not adding value to the cohort. And Carol, you find it way too funny. I feel like a parent.
that was great, Robert. Sorry, that was funny.
You're
I
such
won't
a
do it.
troublemaker.
I'm tempted. I think for me, EQ is a little easier for me. Like, I do read people, I think, pretty well. Like Nam, I always know when people are bored or I've crossed the line or they've talked too much. I can just sense it, so I quickly retreat back. So maybe oversensitive sometimes, but I think I read people pretty well. There's so much I want to work on. I think one thing that I really liked what you said was about look for the win-win. And I wrote appreciate plus value plus situations is help me. And I think I don't know how to quite do that. I know how to appreciate people and show them value, but I don't know how to put the 3 things or 4 things together. And I remember a situation where somebody was at work said they were disappointed in the way the platform was working. And I just apologized, but I didn't really do that. And then after I got done, I was like, oh, I should have done that whole thing about appreciate value, because there was a problem. How could I have addressed it differently versus just say, I'm so sorry that this isn't, but trying to make correction, but acknowledging that they felt disappointment in the way that something was working for them. So I just kind of was like, oh, I'm so sorry, and apologetic, but didn't do the whole process. So that's something I want to be able to take from end to end and how to do that.
I don't know why, but you said so. When you're talking, something else comes to me, because what you just said about, you apologize, right? Here's a little tip for everybody. Okay. It's about, building up authority. So in this instance, let's say, Carol, So nobody has learned this yet. So, it's not because you didn't know what you were doing. I'm just giving you new information right now. And it's not part of the plan. So it's a bonus. So when something is breaking down like that, and then, most of the time we say, oh, sorry about that. And then you're going to take care of it because there's somebody else in charge of that department, right? So I would, yes, do the equation. Oh gosh, I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention because it really shows that you're on the platform, and I just really, the situation is that I'm going to have to confer with Ted in IT department, but I can tell you, rest assured, Ted is an expert in our department on that. And when I ask him a question, he's going to be able to solve that situation and we're going to get back to you. So you're adding right there that validation. You're in good hands. The guy who I'm going to talk to, I'm not just shoving you off. The guy I'm talking to is expert and we're going to take care of you, right? And then people feel validated, right? So this is the situation. I'm going to go and talk to this person, but you can rest assured. So that helps people feel like, okay, my concerns, my ability to bring it up was worth it, right? So just a little tidbit there you can use within your office or amongst peers. Okay. Did everybody go? Thank you for sharing that, Carol. Did everybody go? Okay, great. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a cheat sheet, which, by the way, thanks to Carol, it's exactly what she talked about. So let's open up that cheat sheet. I just mailed it to you. Can you guys see it? You want to pull it up. I'm here to resource you, right? Let me get mine up. Where did it go? Sorry, hang on. Oh, I wonder if I can open it from here since I opened it up. Oh, I can. Okay. Can you all see it? Give me a nod if you can see it. Okay. So here's the equation that she talked about. We want to show appreciation, and down below here are some appreciation statements. So let me pull it out for you. Okay. So you're going to say something like that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thank you for saying that. Oh, I like that you said that. See, that's at the bottom here. I like that you said that, because sometimes people are not sure. Okay, listen, the majority of us, right? We're thinking people aren't really listening to us. It doesn't really, I want to say this. I think it's a great input, but are they going to use it? There's this expectation that the reciprocation isn't going to be a validation. Does that make sense? When you give an input, when you've given an opinion, right? Maybe I'm the only one. Anybody else felt like that? Or maybe you hold back because you think it's not going to make a difference. They're not going to listen. Any of those? No? Okay. Well, some people do. Me, I do. Okay. So when you say, even if they're not thinking that, okay. So if Lisa says to me, something or other, and I was just thinking this, and I say, I like that you just said that. Who validates what you just said? Who validates when you say something? Do you have people in your life that validate when you say something? Give me a raise of your hand if you have somebody who validates when, I like that you just said that. Oh, wow, that's great. Because I don't have that, right? So a lot of people don't have that. Thank you for saying that. So just what they're saying, I mean, that goes a long way. A lot of people don't have that. You can say, I noticed that you did this. And what that tells me, now you move to that validation, the next part. What that tells me is that you're very aware of how other people are feeling around you. And that shows a lot of sensitivity, right? So I saw this, I noticed this, that tells me this, and now you're moving into validation. That's the way that this equation works, right? Validation means what you did was significant for these reasons, right? Validation is good job because this is the outcome. That's validation. Thank you for saying that because it really made my day. Thank you for saying that because it's going to help us improve the situation for everybody. You've really made an impact, right? Yes, I can totally see why you did it this way. And it shows me, so this is a perfect example. I had a conversation with my staff member. I can totally understand why, I can totally see why you did it this way. And it shows me that you are a doer. So anytime I know, something needs to get done, you're going to do it. That's the validation, right? So then you go into the situation, and here's the situation, right? Here's the situation. Back to the situation I told Carol. So Carol, here's the situation. I'm going to go to Ted, who's in our IT department, and I can tell you Ted is an expert at this platform, and he's going to be able to figure that out. And then I'll be able to get the information. If he doesn't call you directly, I will call you with whatever he's informed me about, or we'll make sure we'll take care of this. Right? So that's a situation. And if it was required, then I'd say, oh, you could even do this. I appreciate you telling me this. And if there's any way you can help us with other things you notice along the way, we want to make your experience improved. We want to improve your experience, right? Okay, so we want to say, help me. People love to be helpful. So there is your equation. There are some statements you can use. And then the bonus, I had to mediate something, right? Oftentimes I have to mediate something. And this sentence works like a charm, because you're not telling anybody what they should think. You're saying, maybe you should consider that perhaps so-and-so, right? So I'm always having to do things like that with my staff, because one person made an assumption about another person. I got to put that fire out. That's drama, right? Well, maybe you could consider that perhaps blah, blah, blah. Just, something to consider. So they don't feel like you're scolding them, you're correcting them. It's like, okay. So that's just for you. Another cheat sheet we can do. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? All right. Well, we have come to the close of our evening. You guys have learned a lot. I'm so, so proud of you of how you've worked on these things. I would encourage you, pick one thing you're going to work on every week, just one thing in your communication skills. It's going to take some time, but if you're committed within 6 months to a year, depending on how committed you are, you're going to see changes in the way people respond to you, in doors that are going to open up, in sales that are going to be better. Now, as we come to a close, for those of you who have been in my mastermind before, you know what we do. We share a closing remark. Maybe there's something you want to say to the group, anything that you want to say that brings closure to the whole experience for you. We've been 8 weeks journeying and learning a lot together. So I'm going to start with somebody who's very accustomed to our masterminds, which is, well, a couple of you are, but I'm going to start with Renee. Renee, why don't you start with your closing remark? And because if I ask who wants to go first, I'm going to wait forever. We've only got a few more minutes. Okay. So Renee, we're going to go. So when you're done with your closing remarks, then I want you to call the next person.
Okay. Layla, thank you so much. It's always gold that you bring to us. I think the level of awareness, definitely I have raised my level of awareness, and I'm so grateful that we get to continue this journey of growth. And yeah, so thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, and gentleman. Robert, thanks for hanging in with us. It's been fun. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, Robert.
I had my hand on that spacer.
You were
I was
ready.
I was ready. Okay, so my takeaway is hanging in there, the only guy. Wasn't there supposed to be 2 guys?
Yeah, there were supposed to
others.
be 3.
3.
But one decided to go to monthly coaching, and the other person just got overwhelmed with some adult parent issues. You know what that's like, and work.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I gotta give, I don't know, I know Nam and Renee did double duty today, so that's awesome. Me too, I was in the background though. The afternoon session. My takeaway is definitely the camaraderie, getting to see familiar faces, new faces as well. And it, we can be transparent and still come out with some good teaching moments.
Mhm.
Freaks.
Freak out. Robert, who are you going to pick?
Lisa.
I knew you were gonna do that. Thanks, Robert. Closing remarks. I feel like it was, I'm a C, you know, there, that C part of me is like, let me process all of this new information I got, which is like great stuff. And it was good, like having you guys share what your, you know, strongest area was, because it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, I do want to, you know, take to heart like your advice, Layla, to just kind of focus on one thing at a time and just review just all the different things, the topics you talked about every week. So I think that's my takeaway, is like just focus on one thing and try to implement it, or at least, you know, just have that at the forefront during the week. So thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks so
good.
much.
Yeah, good job. Who are you going to pick, Lisa?
Oh, I'll pick Carol.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. It was a fun group. I really enjoyed just, I think, like I said, authenticity and just people being really honest and fun. And yeah, Robert, we appreciate you having some male influence in the group. You brought a lot of fun, so thank you for that. But yeah, just really great conversation. I really appreciate that, and just learn from all of you. Takeaways, I think similar to Lisa, I tend to try and do too much and then I end up doing nothing. So I need to just be very focused in taking the little steps. And so what can I do each week that might be a little bit different? And so I can be all over the place. I'm an I. So I get all over the place trying to do a little bit of everything. And but being more focused and just intentional about doing one thing until I get that done. So that's my takeaway from that, is focus on one little step I can make until I get a little better at that.
Yeah, good. I'm telling you, you guys, it's gonna pay off. If you need to put little cards or Post-its, and this week you stick it on your mirror, I'm doing this, and next week you put a different Post-it and you're practicing that, it's going to pay off. I promise you. Okay, Carol, who are you gonna pick?
I'll pick Nam.
I actually really love this group. I love that you know, we're all professionals, and you know, for us to be able to be really transparent and share some sometimes embarrassing situations, you know, but I appreciate that. And then as far as takeaways, I'm very similar to just, there's so much, you know, so I like to give a lot, right? And then now for me to practice all these different things, it is going to be hard. So I love the fact, Layla, that you always send us a note telling us you believe in us and that you know we can do this. And because sometimes you're just like, oh man, this is so much. And with what I'm already doing with my family, and the kids are on vacation right now, it's insane. But you know, to do the cards, you know, just actively do something small, make a small change. So that's going to be my plan.
Okay, great. And then you're gonna choose
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn.
It's been a wonderful journey with all of you as the newbie in the group. I just want to say thank you to all of you, number one. And what I've gained from it is a whole different perspective of how to choose your words, how to put together and be prepared for a meeting, how to do a lot of things a little differently than what I used to do. So I just want to thank you all for the great journey, and we'll see what we can do in the next journey. But to practice intentionally, mirroring and even learning how to do the EQ on somebody else. So thank you all.
Good. All right, you guys, I'm super proud of every single one of you. I have a thought that came to me while Nam was talking. Would it help? Like, think about whether you'll utilize this. Would it help if I sent a text out every week just saying, try this week, try DISC, focus on EQ, focus on, or do you want to choose your own and I shouldn't be texting? Text Okay,
Yes.
all right, I'll set that up. I'll have my virtual assistant set that up. And it'll just be like, this week, we're gonna work on bloop, right? And we'll do that for about 7 weeks because we'll put rapport in there, right? Well, all of this builds rapport. There's so much content I tried to give you. So there's just so much content. I realize it's a lot of content. So go over the videos. They're part of your package, right? Use the cheat sheets. I mean, we put a lot of work into creating them for you. You have all the resources you need. You just need to stay diligent with it. So we'll add the text to it. I might even go look at this cheat sheet, whatever it is, right? So we'll send out a text. And thank you for trusting me on your journey. I'm going to miss you all, but be staying tuned for my August mastermind, which is the principles of influence. I'm telling you, this thing is going to just continue adding to your skill set and communication. So if you're practicing every week and then you do the influence, you'll just be knocking it out of the park. All right. Okay, guys, have a good evening. Bye.